You never want a serious crisis to go to waste.
If I could have gotten 51 votes in the Senate of the United States for an outright ban, picking up every one of them, Mr. and Mrs. America, turn them all in, I would have done it.
I have two words for you: predator drones. You will never see it coming.
It's time for On Target Radio, Chicagoland's only radio show dedicated to the red meat issues that affect your life, from gun control to freedom of speech. Now, debating, debunking, and discussing today's hot issues. Here are your hosts, David Lombardo and Gretchen Fritz.
Welcome to On Target Radio. Tonight, David and Gretchen will be talking about the increasing audacity of politics as usual, how the government is again talking and taking control of the internet to assure what they're calling fairness. Then a look at the European Union tightening its first fist even as a member countries are beginning to explore withdrawing from the EU. It's a bad night.
You have to do it in Scottish. That's what you should do.
All right. How Donald Trump is attracting new segments of society. And finally, do you think if you are injured by an active shooter in a business where you're not allowed to carry concealed, you should be able to sue that business? Well, stay tuned for segment 6 and find out what the state of Tennessee did. All that and more on tonight's On Target Radio. So be sure to give us a call at 312-642-5600 or go to Facebook and like our page, On Target Radio.
We'll have to do the whole show in Scottish. That's what we should do, lad.
And now, from the seething cauldron of personal opinion, it's time for David's Rant of the Week.
I don't know about you, but I'm pretty fed up with the way things are going in the world. While it's little comfort, it's interesting to note that Americans aren't the only ones who've had it with their government, as Great Britain just proved. And if George Soros and Donald Trump are to be believed, a nexus that in itself is a bit mind-boggling, Great Britain isn't alone with respect to countries pulling out of the European Union. Apparently France, Denmark, Italy, the Netherlands, Hungary, Poland, and Austria are taking a hard look at the same option. Americans have been doing a lot of finger-wagging and grousing over the current administration, and rightfully so. Perhaps so much that we've not taken a close look at what's happening in Europe, how very similar it is to our own plight, and how it is a harbinger of what is to come in the U.S. John Q. Public, all over the world, is fed up with big government. The European Union, which began as a way to foster economic trade among European nations, has morphed into a wannabe political leader, eliminating national sovereignty and reducing its country members into essentially states under the EU's iron-fisted control. If nothing else, the EU smacks of 1960s Soviet Union tactics. Their open border policy has proven to not simply be a disaster, but a deadly disaster, where Muslim extremists pour from one country into another, raping, killing, rioting, and diluting the indigenous population with the specific intent to accomplish what the EU has it, total domination of every country. And what is the EU's response to this fast-spreading cancer? Well, when they're not passing laws against bottled water with labels that suggest drinking water fights dehydration, or banning bananas with unsightly curvature, they're crafting legislation to ban all semi-automatic firearms. Great policy. Let's remove any possible hope for Europeans to defend themselves against what will almost assuredly be a takeover by ISIS. Just yesterday, massive rioting broke out in France again. Literally, thousands of citizens, tired of a ruling elite that self-servingly passes laws making the rich richer and the middle class poorer. There is a blazing, hot, raging fire beginning to sweep across Europe, fueled by economics and nationalism, and it's spewing sparks that are certainly destined to spread to the United States. What we're seeing in Europe and the United States is the devolution of the entire system. Here in the U.S., individual states have begun to line up against the federal government on such lightning rod issues as gun control, border control, refugee immigration, and an ever-increasing list of social issues being imposed upon an increasing number of citizens who object to them. For years, I've cynically said, I know the Washington Pauls are juking the system to enrich their personal coffers, but always modified that by asking, okay, but what are you doing for us? You know what? The fact is they're not doing jack for John Q. Nothing, nada. They don't give a damn about the common man. Instead, they implement trade deals like NAFTA and the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which Trump's comment nailed it when he said it is a continuing rape of our country. Yet, there isn't even a pretext of appearing to care. Bill Clinton just happened to be at the Phoenix airport last week in a private jet when Attorney General Loretta Lynch shows up in her jet. Bill Clinton, as the husband of Hillary Rodham Clinton, under investigation by Lynch's Justice Department, walks over to Lynch's jet, goes in, and we're told they talk casually about their grandchildren and golf. Are you freaking kidding me? This is the basest kind of political business as usual, and John Q is finally getting fed up with it, but the ruling elite isn't limited to corrupt politicians by a long shot. There's a long list of captains of industry who constitute the ruling elite for personal gain, such as George Soros, Warren Buffett, and Bill Gates. James Traub, from the uber-wealthy family that owns the Bloomingdale's department store chain, put forth in a recent issue of Foreign Policy magazine that the elite need to rise up against the mindlessly angry, ignorant masses in order to prevent globalization from being derailed by the populist revolt that led to Brexit and the rise of Donald Trump. The effete snob oozes the stench of elitism that is rapidly becoming John Q's burial shroud. If all this isn't bad enough, there are legions of mindless liberal robots who actually believe the ruling elite are the solution to their problems. A sobbing woman on YouTube excoriates John Q for picking on Hillary Clinton, listing all of the wildebeest problems from government investigations to a philandering husband, then tells the viewer to leave Hillary alone and, I quote, all you people care about is honesty and integrity, unquote. The difference between the United States and Europe is in the U.S., we still have a Second Amendment, and a very, very large number of citizens who are about to draw a line in the sand. For my part, I'm clutching my guns and Bible, but dear God, please help me find my life jacket, because it certainly appears I'm on the deck of the Titanic. And that, Gretchen, is my rant for the week.
Well, that was certainly diverse.
Okay.
Although the one thing I will say is it's more than ironic that Donald Trump has become the symbol and the leader of the populist movement.
It's not what
it's a little counterintuitive.
Yeah, it's not what one would have predicted, a year ago.
No.
Yeah. But the interesting thing is this, to be fair, because I've heard a lot of criticism about him. He did this, he did that, and I've had some myself. But here's the deal. He was a businessman. When you're a businessman, you give money to people who are in power where you do business. Hillary Clinton, all those people.
Sure. That's
how you become a billionaire. You know how to manipulate people. The more I listen to that guy talk, the more I think he's shooting straight. I really do. I don't know. You're listening to On Target Radio. This is AM560 The Answer. Give us a call, 312-642-5600. Are you getting fed up with the government? And I'm not advocating, sedition here, but I'm just saying that I think people are getting very, very tired of this, and particularly they just blatantly do stuff right in front, just an open view, like this airport thing with Loretta Lynch and Bill Clinton.
Right.
What chutzpah that the husband of Hillary Clinton would meet with the Attorney General of the United States privately, even if they did talk about just grandkids and golf, just on the surface of it.
Right. It looks bad.
And I don't think they talked about grandchildren. Oh, here's what they did. Loretta, oh, Mr. President, how are you doing? Great. Oh, the grandkids, great. You played golf lately? Yeah, I have. Okay, now listen about Hillary. It's just, I was going to say shocking, but you know what? It's not.
Unfortunately, it's hard to be shocked at this point by these people. I posted a thing about Elizabeth Warren this week, and I just basically said, so much hypocrisy, so little time. And it's with all the Democrats.
I've got to read this quote because this is just priceless. We talked about this at dinner. Hillary Clinton had one of these where she had a long explanation for something, and it said nothing.
Right. No content.
No content whatsoever. So Attorney General Loretta Lynch was asked about this meeting. Somebody said, "What on earth were you thinking?" And this is her response. Well, I think that that's the question of the day, isn't it? And I think that's a perfectly reasonable question. I think that's the question that is called by what that is called by what happened in Phoenix, because people have also wondered and raised questions about my role in the ultimate resolution of matters involving the investigation of the State Department emails. And to what extent that people have questions about that, about my role in that, certainly my meeting with him raises questions and concerns, and so believe me, I completely get that question. What does that mean?
I think that's what they call obfuscation, right?
It's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. We're going to be back with more on Target Radio and talk a whole lot more on that subject. We may even talk about it in Scottish. I don't know. But we'll be back. And you're listening to AM560, The Answer.
Okay, I could not get my tongue untied. My tongue was so tied during that read. I had to pause to untie it. I couldn't do it.
That's fine.
Huh?
My tongue got tied because you have talking and taking and tightening and fist even. It's like all these words.
He doesn't like alliteration.
I was just like, could you put words?
Let me see that. What does it say?
That is horrible.
Which one? What are you looking at? What are you looking at?
My tongue got tied.
Right here? Okay,
And
listen to this. You ready? Is it? How's the government? Again, talking about taking control of the internet. So sure,
well, I didn't read it.
I can do it in Scotch.
I couldn't rebound, but we did.
We're gonna demote him from announcer to computer boy. How's that?
That was the first time my tongue ever quit working.
Yeah, that was like the worst one.
Yeah, that was.
It was funny. If we ever do an outtake reel, that's on it.
Yeah.
You're not going to live that one down,
Oh,
buddy.
that was
Never in your life will you live that one down.
Not only him messing up and,
Did you switch
like
things?
Oh yeah.
laughing at himself, but then you like cutting in on him in Scottish.
These people, what is it?
That
What
was
did you
epic.
drink at
Yeah,
dinner?
that was epic. Especially because it's the first thing he said
I think
since
he's laughing.
after the show came out. After we're on the air, that's the first thing that he said, and he said it with the Scottish accent. They're probably like, "Where's David? Oh no!"
David, who is filling in tonight?
Yeah. Craig Ferguson's in the studio. What?
Oh, that was.
Well, we have a good time.
Oh.
And I wonder why we don't sell advertising.
That's the problem with radio. You don't get a redo.
That's right.
No.
Don't get a redo. I'm like,
No.
you just have to do
Some of the best television was back in the days when it was live,
yeah,
because
sure.
you just went with whatever there was. Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever goofed it. That was the first time.
I stumble a lot.
I like on live shows where they joke and they go, "Well, that's okay. We'll cut that out."
Yeah, exactly.
When we edit it, we'll
Right.
cut it out.
Yeah, and it's live.
You know,
It's like-
I think the best person I've ever seen do those shows ever, really, is who's the black guy?
Steve Harvey.
Steve Harvey. Have you ever watched
Yeah.
him?
Oh, yeah.
He is phenomenal, and he does those great those side looks. You know, when somebody says something that like I'm not
Yeah.
going to touch this with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah.
And then he does.
Yeah.
He's great.
He's
Don't
really
forget
good with
your,
the facial
your
expression.
shrinks when we come back.
Do a decent Scottish accent or
I have
cut
no
your
idea
balls
what you're
off.
saying. What?
I said do a decent Scottish accent or cut your balls off.
There you go. Depends what
There's
part
a
of
touch of
Scotland you're
Dublin
from.
on the end of that, so I
It depends
apologize.
on what part of Scotland you're from and whether or not you've been to a distillery. Because that fucks up the language completely.
We have to stop putting this in his head because he's going to start talking that way. He's not going to realize
No,
it.
what I'm going to do
We're
is
not
just
gonna be
pull
able
up
to
a
bring
bunch
him
of groundskeeper Willie
Who
sounds.
cares? Oh, that would be awesome. We need
find
a
something?
little
Get on
cheese
it,
eating
George.
surrender monkeys.
Get on it, George.
What are we doing? What are we doing?
You're reading.
I'm doing
Shrinks.
Shrinks.
And then, yeah.
Shrink smoking gun.
I'm going to redeem myself with the Will County later.
Eh,
Alright, here we go.
FreedomFest.com and save $100 by using the code SALEM, all caps, at FreedomFest.com.
You're listening to On Target Radio on AM560 The Answer with David Lombardo and Gretchen Fritz. Here's David and Gretchen with more interesting conversation on gun control, concealed carry, freedom of speech, and other red meat issues that affect your life.
Over half a century ago, a respected firearms store opened. It started as a hobby for Mike Schrank and has now served generations of customers. Schrank's Smoke and Gun retains a family atmosphere and now carries the largest selection of new, used, and consignment firearms in Lake County. From pistols, rifles, and shotguns to hard-to-find calibers, collectibles, and older functioning hunting rifles. You'll also find full gunsmith services from simple detail cleaning to complete rebuilds. Whether you're thinking about your first firearm and a FOID card or looking to add to your collection, visit Schrank's Smoke and Gun. If you have a firearm to sell, the recent sale was so successful, they need your firearms. And if you love cigars, you'll find your favorites in Schrank's humidors, along with a broad selection of pipes and tobacco. Visit smoke, the letter N, gun.org, or call 847-662-4034. Schrank's Smoke and Gun in Waukegan, your family-owned gun store since 1964. That's 847-662-4034. Well.
And no one said anything with the
No one said a word.
accent.
And I didn't. You notice I didn't miss a line on that one. No,
You did it great.
not at all. However, we have Peggy on the line. Peggy's been on the line before, and she's got an interesting comment about Native Americans.
So much cool stuff to share with you. You know, I was hearing that the Mexican drug cartels.
Yes.
Yeah, they're basically Mexican bandits. Okay, they're not obeying the law or anything. They have established themselves in the Chiricahua Mountains, and I thought,
really?
Yeah, and like they bring in foreigners and all this stuff, and like they got their little stronghold up there, and I thought, has anybody mentioned this to the Chiricahua Apaches? Because you remember why the legend of scalping and how scalping came to be?
Yes, there was a bounty.
There was bounty.
Right.
And Mexicans came in and they took the scalp off of an Indian, just cut a scalp off. They've never forgotten that, and they're going into the Chiricahua Mountains. Oh, this is not a good thing. Anyway.
Well, you could save on barber costs.
Well, they have very interesting ways of executing people, like taking their scalp or letting the ants eat them alive, things like that.
Well, I just have to mention, Peggy, it's always such a pleasure to have you on, and these upbeat comments about I'm not going to go to those mountains.
Always brighten our day whenever you call, Peggy.
I was going to take a vacation there, but I think I'll pass. Yeah, just go to barbershop instead. So we've been talking last segment about just sort of the general melees that's come across the world in big government. Give us a call at 312-642-5600 and weigh in on it. What are your feelings about how things are going in this country? That whole thing with Loretta Lynch and Bill Clinton is just over the top. The Constitution, well, it forbids that kind of behavior, but this administration doesn't seem to care a whole lot about that.
No, not really. Although, in Loretta Lynch's defense, if she's defensible, it sounds like it was all Bill Clinton's idea, and that's a couple administrations ago. So,
who knows exactly how it happened? I don't know. But here's the thing. This administration, they weren't not going to be the most transparent, most honest, all that stuff. From the top down.
Right.
Everybody.
Right.
I don't know of any name that we recognize that has not been corrupted in some way.
No. Well, he only picks people to surround himself with who he can control, first of all, and who he trusts to have the same whacked out ideology as him. And, I think you've seen that, he's done a pretty good job, and if people don't toe the line, he gets rid of them and gets somebody else in there.
Well, people say don't make more out of this Brexit thing than it is. Okay, it's still a really big deal. I think this is the first step. I really do. You remember when the guys, Bundy's people, took over the thing in
Oregon,
right? And that one guy literally committed suicide. I think that's literally what he did. Getting out of that car,
right,
and saying, you won't let me go ahead and shoot. I mean, I think he was literally trying to do, and we talked about this, I think he was trying to be the catalyst to start something, okay? Which is a wonderful self-sacrificing thing, but as I said at the time, that was not the place or the time, and it wasn't. It didn't work.
No.
This may be the beginning of the whole thing. If the other countries pull out and that all crumbles, is not everyone going to look at us, look at NATO, for instance?
Right.
Why are we still in NATO? What's the point of that?
Yeah, I don't know.
You know? And the trade deals, the ball may be starting to roll. It may be starting to roll.
I hope you're
kill
right.
you for what you done to me.
And that wasn't Scottish.
No, it was a little bit.
We do have Marie on from Kenosha, however, who has a thought about the beloved Loretta Lynch.
Hello, thank you, David and Gretchen, for taking my call. One of the conservative show hosts on AM560 this week had said, sure, maybe Loretta Lynch could have said we only talked about golf and grandchildren, but that doesn't mean, like you say, Gretchen, that Slick Willie didn't like wink and nod, and say things like maybe, oh gosh, do you remember what it was like when we first met and you were in this, lower level position, and now you're here as, now you've got this position, and
at least you're healthy and alive.
Just kind of that kind of communication, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what, Marie, I think that all he has to do is say, you're on my list of friends. That is enough to send a chill through anyone's spine if you look at his list of friends.
Right, his shrinking list of friends over the years.
Yeah. It's he actually, I think, has an open account at a florist for funeral flowers.
He should.
Yeah, no, good observation. In the next segment, we're going to talk about the internet. But here's what's happening. All these elitists literally not only won't let things come to votes, because you look at like the EU, it's a handful of people who are making these decisions. When we look at the internet thing, it's a couple of people who are making decisions. These are people who are appointed, and they just take over. Because you have a right to go through life, not just what do they say? Pursuit of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, right?
Sure.
Where does Congress get this? That the Constitution is flexible, that they can just take these things we call rights. They can just the bill that the Democrats tried to pass. We talked about last week, was it?
Mm-hmm.
Says in the bill that no court can decide if this is constitutional. Where does this come from? How did we get to the point and people just take it?
Well, luckily it didn't pass. I mean, luckily no Republicans voted for it, so.
But there was no big hue and cry over it either. You know what I'm saying?
I think because it wasn't close.
Well, I don't know. It's that mindset that they have. And I think that sobbing woman who you refuse to watch, but I think that sobbing, disgusting woman really sums it up when she goes, all you care about is integrity and
honesty and integrity.
Yeah. There was a time when fathers would take their sons behind the wood house with a switch if their sons did not believe in that, if they violated that.
Well, right, exactly. And it is sad to say that, I won't say that universally all Republicans care about integrity and honesty, but there was a time when both Democrats and Republicans cared about integrity and honesty. And as you've said many times, when Nixon was caught doing what he was doing, spying on the other side, he was humiliated.
Yeah.
He knew he had done wrong, but these Democrats today, they seem to have no moral compass whatsoever.
They don't. They literally don't. They can look right into a camera and flat out lie. Now, I'm not saying there's never been a Republican who's done that.
No.
Of course. Sure, it happens.
It's
I
not.
agree. But it's like a badge of honor to them.
Oh, I know. Hillary's taken it to new levels.
Can you think of any presidential candidate in history as corrupt as that woman?
No.
Absolutely frankly,
not.
that is shocking. That frankly is shocking. All right, we're going to be back with more On Target Radio after a few messages, and we're going to talk about, again, it's raised its ugly head our government wants to control the internet to make sure it stays fair. Oh, what could go wrong with that? You're listening to AM560 The Answer.
The word independent.
Got another call.
It's funny, you've got these topics numbered, but you've hit almost every one of them already.
Well, you know.
I'm like, I'm grabbing number 3, I'm pushing back number 2, then we're back to 1, and I got no idea where we are.
I'm just free-forming. You can throw in anything you want. Just
Apparently.
Jump in.
I'm like hanging on. I'm just like trying to hang on and not fall off. I'm like on the back end of a boat, just like hanging on.
This is the long break, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. We can play chess, play little cards.
Yeah. So what's the trick with the? I should do the Scottish accent too. So I should do the Scottish accent too. So how do you do it?
How do I do a Scottish accent?
Yeah. What's the trick?
Yeah. What's the?
You buy the book. There's a book that teaches you. I don't know every language in the world. There's like 200 languages, but there's a book that you buy and it teaches you the predominant language. Shows you where you put emphasis on different characters, and you read that puppy, and you just start. They give you little words to practice with, and you just start going with it. And you got to have an ear. I have an ear for some languages, but not others.
Yeah.
It's just.
Yeah.
Groundskeeper Willie is Scottish.
Yeah.
What's wrong with you?
That was Groundskeeper Willie.
I don't know who Groundskeeper Willie is.
Simpsons. It's on The Simpsons. He's the groundskeeper at the school.
It's the longest running show on Earth, Dave. It's been on for almost a quarter of your life.
I have seen it and I liked it. I do like the show, but I don't watch TV. I never think about it.
If I'm elected mayor, my first act as mayor would be to kill the lot of you and burn your town to cinders.
It's,
I can't remember why he was talking about the French, but he's like, cheese eating
he was teaching
monkeys.
French. They're like, man, the school, it was the school budget thing when Skinner gets fired. And they're like, man, they're really pinching pennies. They've even got Groundskeeper Willie teaching French. He's like, bonjour, cheese eating surrender monkeys.
Steve from Ottawa wants Dave and Gretchen Illinois prognosis in regards to California. Our prognosis for California.
Steve's also watching you on your YouTube stream. Hi, Steve. How are you?
Steve, my prognosis for California is the San Andreas Fault. That's my prognosis.
Or the San Andreas Fault.
The whole thing's going in the ocean.
That's it.
Actually,
It's going to be its own country.
The Rock Creek Fault, I think, is the big one.
I'll be in California Tuesday.
Not from Blazing Saddles, different Rock Creek.
How much time we got left?
I was going to say 1 day. And then...
No, I get back on Friday night.
What part of California?
I'll be in Hayward, which is right.
Where are you going?
Yeah, you're right there.
San Francisco Tuesday.
Really? Will you go and visit the village people?
If you need food, you let me know. I have lots of family.
No, we got an office out there.
Oh, so probably staffed by village
I can feed
people.
anyone.
I'm still flying out
San
on Tuesday
Francisco,
morning until
LA,
Friday.
Houston,
Not happy
Norfolk,
with it, but what are you gonna do?
Minneapolis, Cleveland, Mountain Home, Arkansas.
Yeah.
St. Louis. Although you don't need anybody to feed you in St. Louis. You need there's food everywhere. It's like Chicago. Except the streets are
Prognosis to California. How long are prognosis to California?
I don't know what he's saying.
It's going to turn to shit.
There's not a single street.
Well, that's how it already is.
And then if you're, sometimes you'll be on a road and then it's expressway. And you're like, where am I?
And you know what the shame is? It's easy to love California as a geography.
5 or 6 times a year.
It'd be a great place to live if it weren't every whack job on the planet living there. And that's really only Southern California. Northern California's pretty conservative.
Just like cops, a small percentage ruin it for everybody.
Yeah. Safe for USA. Oh, oh, oh. Oh, good. They did change the phone number. I'm going to start doing away with some phone numbers because they're too damn expensive. We're going to get down to crank phone type party lines.
Talking to Peggy, she wanted to know how she did.
She wanted to know how to what?
How
she wanted a review.
She's asking for his opinion.
Seriously?
Yes, that's what he's doing.
We have cards we could hold up with numbers on them?
I give it an 8.5 for composition.
Oh, we still got another minute. We still got
Do we?
I'm going to have Gretchen read that intro later, when the show's over. Just read it straight. Tell me how many tongue twisters are in that book.
Give it. What part? I'll read it straight. Watch this.
Okay, yeah. I'm trying to find it. Where'd it go? Where'd it go?
Welcome to On Target Radio. Tonight, David and Gretchen will be talking about the increasing audacity of politics as usual. How the government is again talking about taking control of the internet to assure what they're calling fairness. I should have said to assure what they're calling fairness. Then a look at the European Union tightening its fist.
You're listening to On Target Radio on AM560 The Answer with David Lombardo and Gretchen Fritz. Here's David and Gretchen with more interesting conversation on gun control, concealed carry, freedom of speech, and other red meat issues that affect your life.
This segment is brought to you by the Will County Grassroots Division of the Illinois State Rifle Association. Join like-minded friends supporting the right to keep and bear arms in Illinois at 7 p.m. on the third Wednesday of the month at the Silver Dollar Restaurant in Elwood, Illinois.
I went out.
Yeah, that worked.
Yeah, that was something. We have Steve on the phone from Ottawa. Is it Ottawa, Canada? Hey.
No, it's Ottawa, Illinois.
Oh, all right, fine.
Hard Rock.
What can I do for you, Steve?
Well, I just wanted to hear your guys' opinion on what happened in California and how you think it might affect us here in Illinois if we get, say, a Democratic governor. And I'll listen on YouTube.
Oh, then we can give you gestures while we're answering.
There you go.
He wants all the curse words.
And I want to thank you guys for putting this up on YouTube as well as on Facebook.
We're happy to do it.
Media.
Happy to do it.
I really appreciate it. Have a nice day, guys.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you.
My prognosis for California is the San Andreas Fault. It's just going to crack off and be its own place, and who'll care then? I don't care what they do with their guns when they blow water. I don't know if that will bear constitutional muster. They're talking about the California law that they passed.
Oh, that court challenge?
Yeah.
That appeal?
I don't know.
And the interesting thing was there was one circuit court out there that had already said that some of the counties were not running their concealed carry program in a constitutional fashion. You know, it may come to a statewide challenge to their concealed carry law in total, as far as they have a may issue law instead of a shall issue law. And so, it would be nice to see that, just the whole thing challenged in court, the fact that, may issue versus shall issue.
Sure. A lot of people are under the mistaken belief that what the court said was the Constitution does not allow concealed carry. They didn't say that at all. What they did is they upheld California's right to make a decision whether or not they would allow it.
Right.
They didn't say you couldn't carry concealed. They reverted it back to the state.
Right.
And said,
it was an appeal, and they said no, and so it went back to whatever the lower court had said.
So in Texas, which does not fall into that district, but the governor of Texas immediately, pitched the...
He basically threw up the historical sign, come and take it.
Exactly. He extended a digit in their direction and said, give it a shot.
Well, I mean, they literally have a flag for that.
Yes, they do indeed. So
I think I need one of those for my new house.
That would be nice. Yeah,
a nice Texas flag.
You could hang it in the front door, next to your rebel flag.
I was just going to, run it up the flagpole
and see who salutes it. Speaking of running up the flagpole, the subject of the United States government taking control of the content of the internet. Now, here's the thing. First of all, the internet is not just in the United States. This is supreme arrogance if I've ever heard of it. And they're talking about, they want to make sure that they're pushing hard for a layer of new regulations and even censorship under the guise of promoting diversity while policing bullying. Somehow or another, what could possibly go wrong with the Democrats doing that? I can't. This is an altruistic thing, is it not?
Yeah, I just don't understand where they get off. It's like, okay, we've all heard of the First Amendment. Even if you don't like it, you should know, if you work for the government, that it actually is the law of the land.
Actually, if you don't like it, it's probably doing its job.
Right, exactly. But yeah, I mean, as you mentioned before, these are unelected people who sit on the boards of the Federal Communications Commission, and then the other one is the Federal Election Commission. And as you said, these are all unelected people, and they're trying to force their will on everybody.
You're listening to On Target Radio. This is AM560 The Answer. Give us a call, 312-642-5600. The Cato Institute talked about this, and they said that these people, they want to cover blogs, online news, even YouTube. They want to control content on YouTube. They're going to censor. Do you see this? They're going to censor Fox News for its handling of presidential debates. Now, aside from the fact that...
they wanted to, but it was voted down.
No, but I'm saying they wanted to do that.
Yeah.
And aside from the fact that Megyn Kelly went off the reservation, that's a separate issue, but even that, there wasn't any obscenity. There was her opinion, and she has a right to have her own opinion.
Yeah, I mean, she has a right to be a crappy journalist, but, you know, it's not worthy of punishment.
What exactly would they have said about Fox News? Particularly if you look at the Democratic ones.
Well, yeah.
Okay? Which were so in the bag, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. But see, that's typical.
Let's watch them throw another softball.
Exactly. It's just liberalism at its finest. And the problem is they're only one vote. It's a split vote. When it's a split vote, it's status quo.
Yes.
They're one vote away. But it gets back to the point, who are they accountable to? And the answer apparently is nobody. Yeah. I don't know. We're going to be back with more On Target Radio. When we come back, we'll actually go to a segment subject that we were going to actually go to. And Trump is winning people from sort of unanticipated places, and that's kind of interesting. So we're going to talk a little about that when we get back. That and more on Target Radio. And you're listening to AM560, The Answer.
Stop.
Okay, dokie.
My mom called the cops on the people in her neighborhood setting off fireworks.
Oh, that's a bad thing. That's not a no.
It never ends well.
That's exactly
Just put
right.
up with it for a night.
It
2
never
nights,
ends
you're done.
well.
Johnny called. Didn't give me a city. Was pretty inebriated.
John who?
Johnny.
Johnny.
Not
Just
John. Johnny.
Maybe it's the guy that owns the beef place in Elmwood Park.
Johnny was pretty inebriated, so he didn't want to go on the air.
He knew it then.
Oh, yes. No, he was very straightforward about it. Not like the first guy who called 5 times during the first segment and just kept repeating the exact same thing at the beginning. The Supreme Court. Anyway, so, Johnny's point was with Ness, and I know that's kind of a myth, but the Treasury agents and that, you were going after Capone for being a murderer. The only thing they could get him for was tax evasion. So instead, they basically just declared war and started shooting at the gangsters. And he's suggesting that if politicians don't abide by the Constitution, that we need to form some sort of citizens group of law enforcement officials, sworn officials. He's saying, not just a posse, which sounds like a posse anyway. But
I would like to add this point: sedition in this room is by the engineer and not by the hosts.
No, it's not sedition. Yet.
Do you want me to read this comment on the air from Lee?
Yeah, Johnny.
Sure. What is it?
Bill was letting Loretta know that since
tonight.
there were 2 emails from the White House to Hillary, and that if Loretta brings charges against Hillary, her defense lawyers will be calling Obama as their first witness on the stand.
Let's do it.
Bad news for Obama.
Let's do it. I'm all for that.
Oh God, in the hall.
Hi, this is Jim. Yeah.
How much time have we got?
You got about 40 seconds.
Oh, that's not a whole lot, is it?
Not a ton.
Yeah, we do. I got about 40 seconds. Yep.
I was going to tell another story, but I guess not.
Not enough time.
No, we haven't got enough time. Play the intro music. Go.
20 more seconds.
Okay. safes. Do it today.
You're listening to On Target Radio on AM560 The Answer with David Lombardo and Gretchen Fritz. Here's David and Gretchen with more interesting conversation on gun control, concealed carry, freedom of speech, and other red meat issues that affect your life.
Bonjour, you cheese-eating surrender monkeys.
That's my favorite. That's my favorite groundskeeper Willie quote.
If I'm not mistaken, we actually don't have any say in who our engineer is, do we?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Yeah. Well, what can you do? I suppose it would be difficult for us to just sneak in here without him knowing it and do the show.
Well, we have done that before, and it didn't work out. Nothing went out in the air.
There's that. Yeah, there's that problem. Trump, who, I'm right. Our friend Lee
wrote in on Facebook, and he said Bill was letting Lynch know that since there were 2 emails from the White House to Hillary, and that if Loretta brings charges against Hillary, her defense lawyers will be calling Obama as their first witness on the stand.
Yes.
He stepped away for a moment.
I'm back. Trump is, it's going to be clearly Hillary and Trump, assuming that the Republican elite doesn't pull off some sort of a coup at the last minute and figure out how to eliminate him. But I think if they did that, there'd be a really, really, really big backlash, because if they did that, that's exactly why people are for Trump to begin with, that whole mentality. But here's the interesting thing. This race is really, it's got to be a horse race. It's got to be close, at least in the polls. And I won't go through all the numbers here, but he's really begun to attract people who haven't always been traditional Republicans. Catholics, for instance, are going to him because this whole abortion thing that the Democrats have put forth, that they ignored that for so many years, has never been something I understood. But now it's so in your face that they're moving over to the other side of the column.
I'm wondering if Catholic leadership isn't finally starting to give them some direction on that, because
maybe.
Because I've worked for Catholic institutions where you sit at the lunch table and you hear what they say, and they're completely two-faced about it.
It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Yeah. And Protestants apparently, and independents, that's a really big deal. Apparently, statistically, the independent vote is beginning to move in his direction, and then a variety of income groups. Now, this is Zogby poll, and they list out percentages, but he leads Hillary significantly in areas like people who identify as middle class, likely voters who live in small cities and rural areas, Catholics, Protestants, likely voters who own now this is the interesting thing. Likely voters who own $35,000 to $50,000 annually. Hillary is getting the big donors, the big money donors, which is ironic because the Democrats are always talking about how Republicans are the rich people, and they're doing more for Hillary than they are for him.
Well, if you look, though, it says voters who earn more than $150,000 annually, but they're only 1 percentage point apart. So it's basically a dead heat. It's basically half and half.
Yeah.
So half of the rich people think that Trump is going to be good for them, and half of the rich people think that Clinton is going to be good for them.
I got a brother on the phone, George, Vietnam vet. George, who were you with in Vietnam?
Yeah, listen, I spent 18 months in Vietnam, and I killed a lot of people that I didn't even know who they were, and all they were interested in was their sovereignty after being under the foot of the French for 37, 38 years. Now we have people on our shores. The Vietnamese never attacked us on our shores. They never bombed us on our shores. Now we have people on our shores, the Fort Hood psychiatrists. We got Mateen. We got the San Diego people, okay? Eradicate them. Identify them. Do away with them. Kill them. Get rid of them. Period.
And that from a fellow Vietnam vet. I tell you what, George, in really no joking, we're people who strongly believe in the traditional values of this country, people who strongly believe in the Constitution. I even hate to say this, but I think they're being pushed into a corner. It's a very big corner because there's a lot of them. Right. But they're being pushed into a corner where push may come to shove. and that may well happen. And unlike other countries, like the surrender monkeys and, France and stuff, you know what we always say in class? Be careful who you tick off, because you have no idea what they're capable of.
Yep.
We're talking 300 million firearms in this country.
Yeah.
300 million firearms. We don't really know how many individual gun owners there are, but as we've said many times, somewhat joking but true, if we were the problem, you'd know it. Well, if there's a problem,
it may come to that.
You're going to know it. Yeah, you're going to know it. That these people think that they can just take away civil rights, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, Raymond on Facebook says, considering the way our governments, both state and federal, violate our Constitution, I stand here wondering, as I watch my neighbors shoot off fireworks, just what are they celebrating?
Well, that's actually a good
It's
question.
a really good question. And actually, my mom was complaining about the fireworks, too.
Well, I don't complain about the fireworks, but we're celebrating. You know what? I'll bet you, and I have nothing to back this up, but I will bet you that if you went out, man, on the street right now, and you just started asking people, what does 4th of July celebrate? I bet most people don't even know anymore.
Well, Mark Dice did that.
Dice did do that.
He did one of those. I had to stop watching after about a minute and a half.
Yeah.
I couldn't take it anymore.
But you know what, Gretchen? He was in California. Can you tell us what 4th of July is? For sure, it's totally awesome. It's like, well, for sure, we're...
It's like fireworks and
fireworks,
ice cream and
a little
stuff.
barbecue. Yeah, it'd be cool. Go surf.
We roller skate on the boardwalk.
They don't teach that stuff in school anymore.
Apparently not, or else they just weren't paying attention.
Yeah. We'll have to go away now, but we'll be back after a few messages with more on Target Radio, and we'll wrap the whole thing up. And you're listening to AM560, The Answer.
For the Californian. For Californians, good.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I could even do California.
How many minutes have you got?
Not that much.
Okay.
Maybe 2. I have less than a page.
Sylvester Stallone charged with importing human growth hormone into Australia. Book 'em, Dano. So Sly Stone, he won't do time.
Yeah. Sylvester Stallone's juicing. Oh my gosh! I'm so shocked.
He's anti-gun too.
No, say it isn't so.
We should have a show that's just Dave rewriting headlines by reading them wrong.
That's a thought.
Like Sly and the Family Stone arrested for importing steroids into...
That sounds good. And then I can pretend to overreact. I'll do like my very best blonde impersonation.
That thing with the businesses with the names on Facebook.
Oh yeah.
That was clever. Have you seen that?
No.
Somebody's got a whole bunch of pictures
photos
of business marquees.
They're all like puns.
Yeah, they're puns. They take stuff. I can't even think of one now, but they take really common stuff and twist it a little bit, and they name like a restaurant or whatever.
30 seconds.
How many likes have we got on Target now?
971.
971?
Yeah.
Call 1-800-990-6976. That's 1-800-990-6976. Call 1-800-990-6976.
You're listening to On Target Radio on AM560 The Answer with David Lombardo and Gretchen Fritz. Here's David and Gretchen with more interesting conversation on gun control, concealed carry, freedom of speech, and other red meat issues that affect your life.
All right, so when Soupy Sales said one day to his audience, or all kids, he said, "Kids, go into your daddy's wallet and get $1 and send it to Uncle Soupy." He got like an outhouse full of money, which I guess he had to return. I'm going to ask for this. Don't go into your dad's wallet and get money. We got 971 likes for On Target Radio, okay? 29 more.
29. Yep.
We need 29 more. 29 of you people, put the pizza down. Let somebody else hold the beer for a minute. Get on the internet. I need 29. We want to bust 1,000, okay?
And those of you who already liked us on Facebook, thank you. Share it out to your friends. Tell them if you like the Constitution, you'll like On Target Radio.
Exactly. So we would appreciate that. We want to break 1,000. We're just getting antsy about that.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Gretchen has some exciting... Okay, meanwhile, Gretchen is going to give you an idea what you can do this week. That's even bad.
Stand by. Here's Gretchen with your action items for the week.
Bolingbrook Firefighters Association Local 3005 is excited to announce their second annual gun raffle fundraiser. They will be raffling off 6 pistols and 6 long guns, along with gift cards each month. The raffle will run from July to December 2016. For more information on the firearms and a link to purchase online, visit www.iafflocal3005.com. Each month, there will be 1 pistol and 1 long gun raffled, along with $100 and $50 Bass Pro gift cards. Each raffle ticket is only able to win once per month, but if drawn, it will be placed back into the drawings for the remainder of the raffles. If you win a firearm, you will need to go to Bass Pro Shop in Bolingbrook to pick it up. Each year, Local 3005 donates nearly $20,000 to local charities such as Special Olympics Illinois, St. Baldrick's, Rotary, Boy Scouts, Operation Christmas, DuPage Township Food Pantry, and Illinois Burn Alliance. The following Safer USA classes are at our facility in Waterman. Saturday and Sunday, July 9th and 10th, and July 16th and 17th. Illinois Concealed Carry 1. This 16-hour class will be taught by David and Gretchen and meets the training requirements for Illinois Concealed Carry as well as Florida, Arizona, and Utah. Sunday, July 10th, Introduction to Shotgun Shooting, taught by Pat and Nancy Donaldson. Saturday, July 23rd, Long Range Rifle, taught by Ed Jenka. To sign up for classes, go to saferusa.com and click on Register.
The class on the 9th and 10th is, we open that up, and it's like 4 people. Yeah. So if you go to Facebook and like our page, Facebook page for On Target Radio, then slide on over to the Safer USA page, and you can get half off on that, on the 9th and 10th, on that little goodie right there. Yeah, you can get 50% off on that concealed carry program. So by all means, do that. Been an interesting show.
We'll keep it going with segment 6. Make sure to jump over to the YouTube channel. We're going to really talk about the very interesting Tennessee law.
See, he did that without bobbling it. He did fine. Did good.
Rock on.
And we'd like to thank you for taking the time to listen to On Target Radio. Be sure to listen next week when we'll be covering more red meat issues that affect your life.
We'd also like to thank George Hoffman on the board, Jim Ekstrand, our video producer, and our sponsors, Will County Grassroots Division of the ISRA, Schrank Smoke and Gun, the Illinois State Rifle Association, the Aurora Sportsman's Club, and Safer USA.
And maybe I should say thanks to Michael in Scottish.
I think you should.
No, I don't think I would. Thanks, Mike, for making all this happen.